Hello everyone, welcome to Homework Help. If you find the videos useful, please subscribe to the channel. So in this video, we'll solve this problem using the concepts of trigonometry graphs. So as per the problem, examine the graph below and determine the amplitude, period, phase shift and vertical shift of each one using sine as the parent function. Then write an equation of the function. So let's start with the first graph. So in this graph, we are given that the maximum point is on the y-axis and the maximum value for this graph is equal to 2, 3, 4, 5. So the maximum value is 5. So that's our first observation. And the minimum value is 1. So we can write that. So max is equal to 5 and minimum value is equal to 1. So now we can use these values to find the amplitude for this function. The formula for amplitude is maximum value minus minimum value divided by 2. So now we can sub in the values. So we get 5 minus 1 divided by 2, which is equal to 4 over 2, which is equal to just 2. So that's the value of amplitude for the first graph. Now we have to find the period. Now period represents the length of one full cycle of a periodic function. Now in this case, the one maximum point is on the y-axis and the other maximum point is at 6 pi on the x-axis. So the period is measured along the x-axis. So the first maximum point along the x-axis is at x equals 0 and the other maximum point is at 6 pi. So the period is the length of this full cycle. So it will be 6 pi minus 0, which is equal to 6 pi. So the period for this function is 6 pi. Now we have to find the phase shift. Now phase shift is basically the horizontal translation of the parent function. And in this case, the parent function is the sine function. Now, as you may know, for a sine function, the arm that goes up, the middle point of that arm is at the origin. So in this case, so this red point here should be at the origin. But as we can see in this graph, so this point has been translated 9 pi over 2 units to the right side. So that's why the phase shift for this function is 9 pi over 2 to the right side. So there's a very important concept you need to understand and memorize about sine functions. Now we have to find the vertical shift, and for vertical shift there is a formula. So vertical shift is equal to max plus min divided by 2. And now we can sub in the values. So the maximum value is 5, the minimum value is 1. So we get 6 over 2, which is equal to 3. Now since we got a positive value, that means the vertical shift is 3 units in the upward direction. Now we can write the equation for this function. So we have to use the sine function. So let's start by writing the general equation of a transformed sine function. So the general equation is y equals a sine b and then parentheses x minus h plus k. Now different teachers use different letters for these constants a, b, h, and k, but that doesn't change the steps or the process for finding the equation of a transformed sine function. Now a value here represents the amplitude. In this case, so a is equal to 2. Now b value can be calculated from the period. So the formula for b value is 2 pi over p, and the period of this function is 6 pi. So b is equal to, so this fraction can be reduced to 1 over 3 because the pi's cancel each other out, and 2 over 6 can be reduced to 1 over 3. Now the h value represents the phase shift. So h is equal to positive 9 pi over 2 because the phase shift is to the right side. And k represents the vertical shift, which is equal to positive 3 because it's in the upward direction. So now we can write the equation for this transformed sine function. So our equation will be y equals 2 and then sine in brackets 1 over 3, the b value, and then x minus 9 pi over 2, and then plus 3. So this should be the final answer for the equation of this transformed sine function. So I'll just go over this value of phase shift again. So as I mentioned earlier, for phase shift, we have to analyze how much the parent sine function has been moved to the left or right. So in this case, the point that lies in the middle of the arm that's going up from left to right is at the x value 9 pi over 2. Now in the sine parent function, this red point is at the origin. So we can see that this point has been transformed 9 pi over 2 units to the right side. So that's why the phase shift is 9 pi over 2 to the right side. Now we can analyze the second graph. So again, we'll start by identifying the maximum and minimum values. So in this case, the maximum value is 1 over 2 and the minimum value is negative 1 over 2. So now we can calculate the amplitude. So the amplitude formula is max minus min divided by 2. So now we can sub in the values. So we get half minus negative half over 2. So in the numerator, we get half plus half because the two negative signs become a positive sign, and half plus half is equal to 1. So the amplitude is 1 over 2. Now we can calculate the period, and the period is the length of one full cycle. So we can start with the point that lies on the origin, and if we follow the curve to the right side, so one full cycle ends at this other red point. So we can see that the period is 2 pi over 5. So there's a very important concept you need to understand and memorize about identifying one full cycle. So the period is 2 pi over 5. Now the phase shift is the shift to the left or the right side, so horizontal translation. Now if this was a sine parent function, then this point here, the middle point of the arm that's going up from left to right, would have been at the origin. But then this point has been transformed pi over 5 units to the right side. So the phase shift is pi over 5 units to the right side. So this is a very important concept you need to understand and memorize. Now the vertical shift, and for that we can use the formula. So the formula is maximum value plus minimum value divided by 2, and in this case the maximum value is 1 over 2 and the minimum value is 1 over 2 divided by 2. Now in the numerator, half plus negative half is equal to 0, so we get 0 over 2 which is equal to 0. So that means in this case there is no vertical shift. And now we can write the equation for this transformed sine function. So we'll start with the general equation. The general equation is y equals a sine parentheses b and then x minus h plus k. Now in this case, so the a value, which is the amplitude, is equal to half. And then the b value can be calculated from the period. So the formula is 2 pi, which is the period of the sine parent function, divided by the period of the transformed function, which is 2 pi over 5. So now we can simplify this expression. So we can simplify it by writing this as a division statement. So we get 2 pi divided by 2 pi over 5. And now we can change it into a multiplication statement by flipping the second fraction. So we get 2 pi times 5 over 2 pi. And when we multiply them, so we multiply 2 pi by 5 because the denominator of 2 pi is 1. And when we multiply fractions, we multiply the numerator terms and we multiply the denominator terms. So we get pi over 2 pi, which can be reduced to just 5. Because the pi's cancel each other out and 10 over 2 is equal to 5. Now the h value here is equal to pi over 5 because the phase shift is to the right side, so h is positive. And then the k value is equal to 0 because the vertical shift is 0. So now we can write the equation of this transformed function. So we get y equals 1 over 2 and then sine, and then b value is 5 and then x minus pi over 5. So this can be the final answer for the equation of this transformed sine function. We do not have to write plus 0 at the end because that won't change the equation. The 0 will go away. So these are the steps you have to keep in mind to solve a problem like this one. So be very careful uh, for analyzing the given graph to ensure that you identify the correct values for the amplitude, period, phase shift and vertical shift, and then you just have to use those values to write the equation of the transformed function. So I hope you'll find this video useful. Please share it, like it and subscribe to Homework Help. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.